Today's vocabulary lesson is all about helping you be a little more precise when you are talking about some situation or if you're telling a story. These adjectives will help you do just that. So as we go through this lesson, I'm going to tell you the adjective. I will tell you the meaning. I will also try to tell you some nouns that I think these adjectives are commonly used with, some collocations, and I will also give you an example sentence so that you can see how it's used in context. Are you ready? The first adjective that I have for you is offhand. And what this means is little or no preparation. So you may hear it used in the context of an offhand comment or an offhand remark. Somebody says something and it's just offhand. It's an offhand comment. There is little or no preparation before they say this thing. Now, keep in mind, because you are not preparing, you are not really thinking about it, sometimes offhand remarks can get people in trouble. They say something without really thinking about it, and then when they do think about it, maybe they're like, perhaps I should not have said that comment, I should not have made that remark, but because it was offhand, well, I did, I said it, and I can't take it back. So in that sense, it may not be something that you want to say, an offhand comment or offhand remark. This adjective also means thoughtless or inconsiderate. And in that sense, you may hear it being used with the noun manner. You could hear somebody talk about another person's offhand manner. It's just perhaps a little insensitive, it's inconsiderate, the way that this person behaves, their offhand manner. It makes you want to stay away from this person. You don't want to be around them because they're a bit thoughtless.
My mother made an offhand remark about my boyfriend.
The next adjective is forthcoming, and this just means that something is about to be made available, something is about to appear, or maybe it's about to be produced. It is forthcoming. Some kind of event is forthcoming. It is about to be produced. It is about to appear. It is forthcoming. It will be here in the future. Forthcoming. You can also use this adjective to describe a person. If they are honest and candid, this person tells the truth, you could say that he or she is forthcoming. They are making the truth available. They are honest, they are candid.
The police said that new evidence will be forthcoming.
Then we have the adjective widespread. And if something is widespread, it means that it is happening in many different places and among many different people. Now, this adjective is very versatile. You may find it before the noun, and you might hear somebody talk about widespread chaos. It's everywhere. You can also find this adjective after the linking verb to be, and you say that something is widespread. It's happening in many different places. For example, perhaps you could talk about a disease that is widespread. Now, in both of those examples that I gave you, one thing to be aware of is that I think often when you talk about something that is widespread, you're talking about something that is negative, something that's not good, whether it's some kind of disaster and there's widespread chaos, or like I said, you could say that the disease is widespread. It's happening everywhere. That's not always the case, but often I think it is associated with something that is negative when you're referring to something that is widespread.
There was widespread dissatisfaction with the president and his administration.
Next is straightforward. Now, this adjective has two meanings, and usually I think this adjective is going to follow the linking verb to be. And you could say that something is straightforward, which means that it's not complicated, that it's easy to understand. The instructions, they were straightforward. I was able to understand them easily because they were straightforward. You can also use it to refer to a person who is honest and tells the truth. And you could say, he or she is straightforward. This person's straightforward. They tell the truth, and when they tell the truth, they are very forthcoming, and they tell everything. They tell all of it. So remember, straightforward, two different meanings. Not complicated, easy. I could say that, well, your directions, they were pretty straightforward. I used the map, and I could easily find the place because your directions were straightforward. Or it means honest, sincere. For example, I try to be straightforward with you guys when I tell you about these words and the way in which they are used and the other words that we use them with. I really try to be straightforward with all of you.
I easily put the cabinet together because the instructions were straightforward.
Then we have so-called. Now, this is one of my favorite adjectives. Again, it has two different meanings. The first one is just talking about something is named in a particular way. For example, if you're referring to a group of countries, not many countries have nuclear weapons. And you could say that this group of countries, they are the so-called nuclear powers. They are named in this particular way. The other meaning, which I think is a little more commonly used when we're talking about so-called, and it's also why it's one of my favorite adjectives, and the meaning is it's used to show that a word is not suitable to describe something or someone. Let me give you some examples. He's just a so-called expert, so-called expert. And if you refer to somebody as a so-called expert, it means that, well, that they should not be called an expert. That word should not be used to describe this person. Or you could say somebody is just a so-called doctor. Maybe they think of themselves as a doctor, but you don't think they're a real doctor. You could say, well, you know, she's just a so-called doctor. It's not, the word should not be used for this person. It's not suitable for them. Again, when you're using it in this context, it's not a compliment. You are not being nice to somebody else. Now, with those examples, you can see that this adjective will come before the noun when you refer to somebody as like a so-called expert or a so-called doctor or a so-called friend, that the adjective will come before the noun, so-called.
Celebrities and other so-called role models may not have a good influence on children.
Then we have egregious. I want to have a quick look at the pronunciation because this word has 3 syllables, and the first and third syllable will have that schwa sound, that sound. Egregious. That second syllable has the long E sound, egregious. And egregious, it's a great adjective to help you be more specific and precise, because what it means is something is really, really bad. It's shockingly bad. And you could say that it is egregious. You can also use it before the noun if you want to describe something. For example, you could say that this person exhibited egregious behavior, that it was really bad. Or perhaps if you want to use it after the linking verb to be, you could say, well, what the government did was egregious. It wasn't just bad, it was really bad. So again, instead of using the word bad, which I think is very common and possibly even overused, you can be more precise, more accurate, and say that something is egregious.
If the government is spying on its citizens, that is an egregious abuse of power.
Then we have frivolous, and this adjective means that someone is behaving in like a silly or foolish way, kind of showing that this situation is not important, that it's not serious, and you could refer to it as frivolous. For example, perhaps you have a couple of people, they're dating, they're seeing each other, but you could describe their relationship as frivolous. It's a frivolous relationship, which means that it's not serious, it's not that important. They're just dating, they're having fun, but you could say that it is a frivolous relationship. So it's often used to describe some sort of situation. If you want to say that it's unimportant, you could just say it's frivolous.
the judge decided to throw out the frivolous lawsuit.
Next is excruciating. This, well, it's not a good adjective because it means that you're talking about something that is very painful. It's excruciating. And I often think of physical pain, that you have to go in for some type of operation, some type of surgery. It was really painful. It was excruciating. You can often use this adjective with the noun pain, and this is a common collocation. Excruciating pain. You could say, I got injured playing soccer and it hurt really bad and I was in excruciating pain. It was very painful, excruciating.
He was in excruciating pain after twisting his ankle.
Next is noxious. Let's look at the pronunciation quickly. This adjective has two syllables. That first syllable, that knock, and then shus, that schwa sound. You hear that in the second syllable, noxious. And what it means is something that is harmful, something that is poisonous, and you could use it to describe some noxious fumes. If there is some kind of gas, a noxious gas in the air, it is poisonous, it's harmful, you could say it is noxious. Be careful, do not confuse this adjective with the word nauseous, because that's describing the way somebody feels. If they feel nauseous, they feel sick. This is a different word. It is a different adjective. Noxious is harmful, poisonous, for example, a noxious gas.
We're trying not to breathe the noxious fumes from the bus.
Then we have inveterate. So this adjective means that something is done as a habit, and in that case, it's not likely to change. Often we use this adjective to describe a person, and you could say that someone is an inveterate gambler, that they are always gambling, it's not going to change, they are an inveterate gambler. Or maybe a person is an inveterate liar, that they are always doing this, it is a habit, that they always lie, they are an inveterate liar. Again, I think that you would often use this adjective, that you are saying something about this person that is probably negative, whether it's talking about somebody who is an inveterate gambler, an inveterate liar, that you are using it to describe a person in a negative way because they have some kind of bad habit that they can't break. Inveterate.
She has been all over the world because she's an inveterate traveler.
Then we have nefarious, and this adjective means that something is morally bad. We use it to describe some kind of situation or perhaps even a person that is morally bad. And I say morally because it's to show that the person who's doing this thing, they know better. They know that it's wrong. And you could say that, well, because of that, this thing is nefarious. I often think it follows the linking verb to be, and you'd say that something is nefarious, but you can use it before a noun as well. For example, you could say that, well, he had a nefarious plan to steal from the company, that he was going to steal from the company, and the plan was nefarious. It was morally wrong. This person knew better. It was nefarious.
The Grinch had a nefarious plan to steal Christmas.
Next is the adjective preposterous. And this just means that something it's ridiculous, it's absurd. So often I think it's used in the sense that somebody would just say, that's preposterous. They're talking about a situation, they're describing it as ridiculous, and you would hear them say, that's preposterous. Or you can say that if you want to describe something that you think is absurd and just say, well, that's preposterous. Somebody tells you something that you can't believe, you think it's crazy, it's absurd, you can just say, that's preposterous.
You think I ate the sausage? That's preposterous.
Now, even though these adjectives may not be, well, widespread, that you are going to hear everybody use them every single day, the reason they are not widespread is because they are a little more advanced. They are more specific. It is to help you be more specific when you are describing a person or describing some situation. So I want you to go out and practice using them. That is my request. That's what I want you to do. And I don't think that this request is absurd. It's not preposterous. I want you to go out, practice them, or at least try to identify them when you are listening to a podcast, or you are watching a TV show, or you're reading a book. See if you can try to pick them out, because again, as you are able to continue getting exposure to these words, it's going to help you remember their meaning so that you can use them confidently and correctly the next time you are having a conversation. That's all for now. Keep up the good work, and I will see you next time.